Mark Brendan, the designer of America Against Ants, and I'm going to answer some questions now about the game. So let's go on with it. Creature features from the era, particularly anything involving giant bugs. And for the strategy side of it, I'm a tabletop wargame designer. That's a big part of my background. I've designed many, so it seems like a bit of a no-brainer that I would put the two together. First and foremost, I think, is the relentless nature of them. The swarm just keeps coming, and then there's also the idea of humans being hunted by giant insects. That is so alien and so terrifying in itself. But then there's also the fact that there are many different types of them, which employ different strategies that you've got to react to in order to defeat them and to keep your troops alive. And as you get further into the game as well, they start cropping up from anywhere. They don't just come at you from the top, the spawn points at the top of the screen. We experience the story through a series of briefings and debriefings by three main characters that are the sort of narrative heart of it. Uh, the first character that you're introduced to is Lieutenant Johnny Henderson, who's the man on the ground dealing with fighting the ants. He's on a mission initially to find and save the second character you'll be introduced to, who is Professor Gillian Carter. She's a research scientist, specifically looking at the effects of radiation on fire ant colonies at nuclear test sites. And the third character, who will be introduced to a bit later in the second operation, is General Gordon McCoy, who deals with logistics and the strategic overview of the campaign, making sure that the soldiers have what they need in order to fight the ant colonies. The game's split into a series of operations, so the whole campaign consists of 6 operations, and an operation consists of 5 different missions. The first set of missions are specifically around the nuclear test sites, an area of the desert. Then we move on to a national park where rangers and hikers are being threatened, and also members of Professor Carter's research team. In the third operation, we're around the Area 51 site. So we've got a bit of classic conspiracy theory shenanigans going on there, where we've got buildings with secret projects that need to be defended at all costs from the swarm. And then in the second half of the game, the next 3 operations all deal with attacks on civilian areas. The first one being the small town of Mercury, which has been completely overrun by a colony. So that's more of a cleanup and an extermination operation. The 5th operation is set around Indian Springs, a larger town where the troops have to go in and evacuate civilians and hold back the swarm there. And then the final set of missions, last operation, is Las Vegas itself, the main city in the area, where the ant swarms all converge for their mating flight. It is their season, and as we know, many people converge on Las Vegas for the wedding chapels there in order to mate, and that's where we have our epic finale. Tower defense is all about turtling and the long term planning of how you're going to set up your layers of defense, whereas real time tactics is more about an ever changing and evolving battlefield. It's about maneuver and having to respond and react to threats as they occur. So, square in that particular circle, we've got a number of different missions which call for both strategies to be used. And your troops can dig in, they can fortify positions, but they can also move out of those at any time and move around. So we kind of get the best of both worlds with America Against Ants. There are multiple ways in which the game evolves and keeps things fresh on a mission to mission basis. Initially, you start off with just GI rifleman squads, but every mission or so, you'll have a new troop type introduced. the initial operation, most of it takes place underground in a mine complex. So it will be all infantry units, but then moving on to the next operation, you start getting access to vehicles, you get jeeps, you get tanks, and ultimately you get anti-aircraft batteries. Then there's also the different ant types that you will face, so the threat keeps changing. You will also get access to support actions from General McCoy throughout the game, and these change as well. So initially you get rocket barrages, but then you'll also get close air support, strafing runs, high altitude bombing missions, and the ultimate one, of course, is tactical nuclear artillery, the good old Atomic Annie. And then there's also, in addition to those support actions, you'll get stuff from Professor Carter's team, who are scrambling to use pheromone research in order to find ways to disrupt the colonies and buy your troops a bit of time in combat against them by luring them, disorientating them, getting them to fight each other. And then there's a variety of different mission types as well. There's mission types to defend structures, to evacuate civilians, to destroy nests, to capture particular types of ants. There's a lot going on, so each mission is different right up until the end. I don't know about unexpected, but for the atmosphere, we've got elements of, I guess, Fallout's atomic era retrofuturism, and then kind of more modern, like kind of bug horror sci-fi stuff like the Alien franchise and Starship Troopers in particular, I guess, because of, it's the military versus giant ants, and we could also see like perhaps 40k influences like Imperial Guard versus Tyranids in there as well. For gameplay, I guess there's one that I could say is probably a bit unexpected, but it it did inspire me quite a lot. It's a game that I actually worked on. I worked on a port of it back in the late 2000s, and that's World in Conflict, for its mix of like kind of squad based tactics along with support strikes that very much influenced the design of the army units and the army gameplay that's in there. We've got this mix of glitz and glamour and urban sprawl, the casinos, the neon lights, juxtaposed with this relentless alien swarm that's overtaking all of the all of the great achievements of mankind. So I think in that respect, Las Vegas kind of makes a perfect ending for it. There's some slightly comedic elements to it as well, I suppose. And I've alluded to this before in one of the earlier questions. We have our in joke about the mating flight of the ants being drawn to Las Vegas with all of its glamour and lights, and much the same way as many people come to Las Vegas in order to mate. So do the ants. The pheromone weapons will buy you time. That's probably their main use. Great times to use them would be when you're about to be overwhelmed, or when the ants are about to attack and destroy something that you're trying to defend, or perhaps to draw them away from something that you're trying to achieve, like setting demolitions charges or something like that. If you want to take the heat off the troops that are performing those mission actions and objectives. You've got several different types of the pheromone weapons. The lure weapons, obviously great for drawing ants away. But then there's also the disorientation and blind pheromones, which will get them blundering about in random directions. And finally, the frenzy pheromones that will get them to attack one another and stop whatever it is that they're doing. These are big, devastating attacks that can destroy or damage large numbers of ants at a single stroke. So you've got to be careful how you use them, because you've got a limited number of them, and they have cooldown periods on them. So once they're used, it's you have to wait for a while before you can use the next one. So timing is everything with using your artillery strikes, nukes, bombing runs, etc. America against ants. I jest, of course. Uh, three words to describe the game: fun, strategic, and story-driven. Can I have that as one word? Cinematic. Uh, yeah, fun, strategic, and cinematic.